Galen's dead!
I might have shot him. Not saying I did or didn't, though.
Hello, my 35-year-old Italian plumbers. Friends, thank you for joining us today on the Nintendo Everything Podcast, episode 95. My name is Oni Dino, and with me I have the best friend of the Master of Unlocking. It's Barry Burton.
Yes, absolutely. You almost became an Oni sandwich.
So Galen's dead. As noted in the last week's episode, it was his last episode. He annoyed me so much, I killed him, allegedly. He's definitely not on vacation. And so I have the lovely Barry filling in for him this week. Barry, how you doing?
I'm doing great, and it's an honor to be here. I'm not recording this sitting on Galen's dead body at all, I promise. That's ketchup, that's not blood.
Slightly different color, I'd say.
Yeah, just a little off.
Galen's a blue blood, I think.
I can't confirm nor deny that.
Barry, remind everybody who you are, what you do. You've been on the podcast a couple of times guesting, so people will probably be familiar, but just in case, we've got some new listeners lately, so who are you? What do you do?
Well, for those that do remember me, hi again. Pleasure to be back and honored to be back. For those that don't know me, my name is Barry, and I am one of the co-hosts on the Nintendo Fuse podcast for about 7 years now, and I'm also one of the co-hosts on the Switch Mania Playcast for about a year now on that, and some other endeavors which I will be talking about in a little bit. But yeah.
Lovely. Barry is a great guest to have this episode because we have a ton of junk to talk about. Of course, there was the Super Mario 35 Direct this week. Also, a leak of an old patent showing a portable GameCube, or a patent if you speak British English.
Patent.
Yes.
I like that.
I think Australian English also says patent, but I'm not sure.
Well, I've always said patent.
That's the correct way to use it, clearly.
It could be. I don't know.
And we have tons of games to talk about. Both Barry and I have been deep in the video games. We are desperate weirdos. Let's move on into our adventure log and talk about them.
Yes.
So if you're looking for me on the internet, don't blink twice. You can find me over on Twitter at Oni_Dino. Barry, where can people find you on the internet?
And you can find me also on Twitter at Hawk Hellfire.
Ooh, also, I should probably mention here in the show that I started doing a second podcast. This one is an interactive podcast. Its gimmick is totally different from this one. This one's more, dare I say, a professional podcast. The interactive podcast that I do is just an hour-long show. The gimmick is that I bring a topic of conversation to the table, and then everybody shows up and chats in the chat bar, whatever it's called on the side, or you can jump in. You can choose a little spot in there and talk via audio or via audio and camera if you like. You don't have to. We're all cowards here. You can just chat text. That's cool. Text chat, that's what I meant to say. Jesus Christ.
See what happens.
That is weekly, an hour long. You can find me on Get Vocal VOKL, or you can just follow me on Twitter and I'll talk about it there. I simulcast on Twitter as well, so you don't have to join Get Vocal, but that's how you can chat text. Text chat.
We're off to a great start today.
I'm very tired. I'm very tired. So come follow me on Twitter, and then you'll hear more about that. You can join in. A couple of people from the Nintendo Everything podcast have already joined in. A lovely shout out to Chris and Roxas Sakuraba, who have joined over there, and it's been lovely interacting with some of our listeners, like in real time, and hearing what they have to say.
That is great. Yeah, I love those live interactive podcasts.
Yeah, Barry, you do that.
I
You
do
know
that.
how it is.
Yes, it's a lot of fun. I think like for me the best part is just engaging, like you said, with the listeners. I think that's great to just give them a voice and let everyone talk.
Totally. And that's what the difference is. So, like, on Nintendo Everything podcast, it's more structured. And then on that one that I do on Get Vocal, which doesn't really have a name yet, I've kind of just called it Desperate Weirdo Critiques Video Games. That's the temporary title. It's pretty self-explanatory, but it's just basically you tell me where to go and I will drive kind of thing. It's just whatever the shit you want to talk about.
That sounds like a good time.
It is. It's chill vibes, according to some of our lovely listeners. Now, Barry, how about you tell me what you've been playing this week?
Oh, I'm going 1st.
You've been playing a lovely game called Evoland on the Nintendo Switch.
Yes. Have you played Evoland?
I have, yeah. Months ago I did. I don't even remember if I talked about it on the podcast or not, but let's hear about it.
Evoland is one of those games where, it came out physically from Super Rare. I picked it up, and it started jumping in price, and I noticed that. And
oh, of course.
I was like, I'm not going to open it. I've heard some good things, but for the playcasts, which is what we do there, is we play a game a week. That was the game they picked. I'm like, oh, okay, great. So now I'm like, do I open this expensive game or what? So I checked. It was like $5 to download. I said, well, I'm just going to download it.
Yeah, it was on sale recently.
Yeah, I think it still is. So I'm like, I'm going to download this. I'm going to see what this is about. And I was honestly floored. I was blown away, mainly the second game. There's 2 games in this collection. The first game is more like an appetizer or a tech demo. The gimmick of the first game is you start off in like black and white Game Boy. You can only move left and right, and you slowly start progressing, going through the history of RPGs. You get color, you get 8-bit, you 16-bit, you got pre-rendered backgrounds, and you get into the PlayStation era, and it definitely feels like a Zelda game in some parts, but it also switches to turn-based strategy like an old Final Fantasy game. One section, it's Diablo, and it just keeps changing between these styles. It's really cool. And then the second game, it takes that gimmick, but instead it makes it into like a Chrono Trigger-esque adventure where you're going between time periods, and the very past is Game Boy, and the past is 8-bit, the present is 16, and the future is in 3D polygonal. And it is a really good RPG for that level. Like the story is good, the exploration is good. You have to use the time mechanic to your advantage. But what's really neat about it is it's the main level is like Zelda. It's like Zelda style. You gain experience points, you gain levels, you gain power as you level up. But each subsequent area changes up the format. So some areas are absolutely Legend of Zelda. Some are side scroller, like Mario, or horizontal climbing, or vertical climbing. Some levels are instead like a Double Dragon or Final Fight, a side scroller beat 'em up. One boss battle turns into Street Fighter. You have shmup sections. You have sections that turn into like Chrono Trigger or turn-based RPG. You have one section that's Bomberman, where you lose your sword and you actually have to use bombs and play Bomberman.
Oh, nice.
There's a card game in there that's like Magic. There's Professor Layton sections where you have to answer questions and riddles just like Professor Layton. There's a Puzzle Quest section where you have to literally play Bejeweled / Puzzle Quest-esque battles or against opponents. It just changes up the style in pretty much every section, and you almost never know what you're going to get going in. There's one area that's like Fire Emblem, like a strategy RPG, and I think that's really well done, the way they do change it up. Even if you one area you're like, oh, I don't really like this type of gameplay, it doesn't stick around long enough to feel, all right, this is enough is enough. At least I didn't feel it did that, and it was long. It was like a 15-hour RPG. I was like, holy crap, I didn't realize this was going to be this big. A lot of fun, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah, like as you're describing it, this sounds like it should not work at all.
Yeah.
But as somebody who's played probably half of it, I was surprised at how well it did work. Like, definitely the attraction of this game is its gimmick, because it doesn't get, at least from my experience so far, it doesn't get like super in-depth story-wise. You're not going on in like an epic adventure in terms of like something like Xenoblade or whatever. You know what I mean? It's definitely how the gameplay keeps changing and how effectively they actually execute that.
Yeah, they do it really well. It's seamless. And one thing that I didn't like about the first game, because the first game is, like I said, like an appetizer. It's short. It's like 3 hours. Is like when you're in the RPG section, you actually gain experience and you level up. But then when you switch back to Zelda, none of that matters. Like the RPG section
I
only in
did
the
notice that.
RPG, and Zelda's only in the Zelda. This game and then two, it all carries over. So when you're side scroller, you now have 50 HP. That's it's the same thing. When you turn to turn-based strategy, you still have 50 HP. In real-time strategy, you have 50 HP. So it's universal. Carries over. Even the shmup section, you have 50 HP, and I like that. So as you level up, and you can level up in any of the sections, you're getting stronger across the board. And I like that universal appeal.
I think that on the US eShop, it might be somewhere around $20 US, which I think is a fair price for it, but it does go on sale from time to time. And I think if you really enjoy video games and you've played like lots of different, what do I want to say? Like
genres?
Yes, exactly that. Genres. You should definitely give this game a look. And I don't think you'll be disappointed with it, just because what it does is so novel.
Yes, it's completely unique in that sense. And I don't know if there's going to be a third game. Some people, don't get turned off by the first game. If you do just decide to play it, it's like an appetizer. It's just a quick little jaunt and a fun little thing. But the second game is really the highlight.
Now, to change topics a bit, to change from your lovely positive attitude to a story that I would like to tell.
Ooh, let's go.
So, either last week or the week before, I talked about a game that I played called Giraffe and Annika for the Switch. It's a lovely little 3D action platformer game. Got a great aesthetic. It's got a summery atmosphere. The atmosphere and the music are still my favorite things in this game. I love the music. It's really relaxing. And it was like a relaxing little game that I said I recommended it, especially for people looking for like a chill time or maybe a game for kids or something like that. And I do recommend that up to the 3rd dungeon.
Uh-oh.
So I had to, after the 3rd dungeon, I collected these 3 magical items to get together for some sort of like dancing ritual that I had to perform. And this is like a very kid-friendly kind of atmosphere. It's not like a ritual. It's more like we have to do a cute little dance or whatever. That's good. But here's the thing. I collected those 3 magic items, went through the dungeons. Then I had to help a bird build a statue for the ritual. In order to do that, I had to find 3 separate statues all around the island and take photos of them, bring it back to the bird. The bird builds the statue, erects the statue in the plaza, and then you'd think you would dance. No, you have to find out what time to perform the ritual, which is connected to the stars, so you have to go ask the boy at the observatory. And not only that, you have to learn how to dance. You've never danced before in your life. You also have to make dancers' clothes. In order to do that, you have to find cloth, and you also have to find somebody who sews. You go find the person who sews, the seamstress, and she's busy doing something else at the time, because she has a crush on the boy at the observatory. She's making a scarf for him, and she wants to know his name. She's never asked his name. She has a crush on him, and she's just too shy to ask him. So you go to the observatory. You get his name. Go back to the seamstress. She makes the scarf. You take her to the observatory because she's too scared to go on her own. She gives him the scarf. He tells you the time of the stars, so that way you know when to dance. It's between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. only that you can dance. Then the lady goes back to her house. You go back to the house. You have to find the cloth hidden in the land. Give it to her. You see where I'm going with this?
This sounds convoluted as all get out.
Yeah, it was really charming before with a little bit of exploration, just kind of a relaxing little jaunt, and then it started to overstay its welcome. I'm not done with this yet. So you find the cloth to make the clothes, you give it to her, you need to take a photo of some clothes. So she doesn't know how to make dancers' clothes, you have to take a photo. You go to the underwater cave to meet the ghost who dances, who will teach you how to dance. The cave is pitch dark, so you need to find a lantern to go through the cave to get to the ghost. I don't even remember where I found the lantern because this story was just getting so full of wasting my time. I felt like I was playing Shenmue. It was wasting my time.
You're making my head hurt just talking about this.
This should be a cute little game for the kids, and this kind of came out of nowhere. Beforehand, it was just like, oh, you got to do this one little thing to open up the dungeon, and then you go through the dungeon, then you move on to the next thing. And it was fairly relaxing. And then suddenly I was starting to get frustrated, like, oh, this shit now? And then with this shit too? So eventually all that happens. I wait because you can't choose, your time to wait. You have to just stand there and wait until 1 to 2 a.m. I danced. It opened up dungeon number 4, which is its own story, but I'm just going to put it simply. It was a mess of platforming using the floaty, imprecise controls. The game has not really done platforming up to this point. There was a little bit of jumping and stuff, but this one was full on a platforming dungeon. And I said last week or whatever that the controls, though floaty and kind of imprecise, have not hampered the gameplay experience. This Dungeon 4 totally was hindered by the controls. And I had so many deaths, and I lost because of the gameplay mechanics so many times. I finally got done with that. And it leads to the final dungeon. I'm like, finally, like I can see where this is going with the story. The story and the mystery is like intriguing enough. It's like a little storybook thing. And I'm like, I just want to see where this is going. I'm near the end of it. Let's just see it through to the end. In order to get to the final dungeon is on another island. And to get to that island, I have to take like a trolley. And so I make it all the way up to the top of the mountain to ride the trolley. The trolley only goes there at one specific time point throughout the entire day, throughout the entire 24-hour cycle of the game's time. So I go to bed and I wait till morning. I stand next to the trolley and wait because the specific time point is like maybe 6 p.m. or 3 p.m. or something. I don't know. It's not the time that's like right after when you wake up from going to bed. I don't know why they didn't make it right after you wake up from going to bed, because you can only choose 2 options: wait till morning or wait till night. So finally, the trolley arrives. I can see it in the distance, making its slow way there. I'm just standing there waiting. My favorite thing to do in a video game.
Of course.
The trolley arrives. The conductor gets out. He says, "Oh, thank God. You're our first customer in forever." I'm like, great. It's like, you getting on? Yes. Where's your ticket? My ticket? Well, you can't ride the trolley without a ticket. This bitch is driving the thing back and forth every day with no customers, and he's asking me for a freaking ticket.
So what convoluted mess do you have to do to get the ticket?
Absolutely. This is Shenmue as shit. He says for me to find it from a pawn shop or something like that. Something that hasn't been in the video game at all. I've explored the whole island several times over to go and get all these different little fetch quest items. I went around the island and spoke to every NPC I've met up to that point. None of them had anything new to say. None of them mentioned a pawn shop at all. I put the controller down, I put my head in my hands, and I screamed.
No joke, my head actually hurts. That story was painful. I'm not even experiencing it.
I closed the software and I deleted it from my Switch. I cannot recommend this game.
I guess the mystery isn't that alluring anymore.
Nothing is that alluring. I felt like an abuser, or an abusee, standing up to my abuser. I was like, no you don't, game. No longer.
So, oh god, I've heard questionable things about this game, and of course, I did pick it up on Switch and PS4.
Oh,
No. Now I'm certainly going to stay away from it though.
sadly, I've never had such a hard turnaround on a game. That's why I had to talk about it, because I recommended it last week. You
Ugh.
know, I recommended it even though the price point was high. I was like, you know what, maybe on a sale, you know? But Jesus, man, like it just turned into such a waste of time and overstayed its welcome so hard. And it's like the controls aren't particularly fun. They're not bad. They're just like functional. You know, everything is functional. And when you're just walking around the island and everything is just functional, nothing is exciting, the aesthetic is wearing off because you've already been through this island, you're not exploring anymore. It was just like uh, it was just such a waste of time. And that's the worst thing with a video game, when you feel like you could be playing something else, you know?
That's the thing. Time is so precious, and there's, you know, millions of games really out there that you can experience and play, and that's something that, you know, like when we were kids, you know, 5, 10 years old, you know, we get a game like that was the only game we got for like months. We had no choice. We
Right.
sat through those crappy games because that's what we had to entertain ourselves with. Now, if a game doesn't grab me, you know, really soon, I just move on. It's like I'm not gonna bother. So
Yeah.
I commend you for putting up with it that much. I wouldn't have.
Well, here's the thing though, is in the beginning it did grab me enough. I thought, you know what, this is a relaxing game. It's not like a hardcore game at all. Nothing was hard about it. It was just, you're just relaxing. And I was cool with that. Then suddenly it turned into this fetch quest nonsense, and I was like, oh my god. It just, I hate to be so down on a game too. Like, I think listeners will know I almost always try and look at the positive of a game. I know that there are humans behind creating a game, especially an indie game where it's much smaller production. So I hate to be so down on this. I really do, because there are merits to this game, but this game does not know that it has a lot of weaknesses and a couple of strengths, and how to play into those strengths. At the beginning it kind of was, but it ruined itself. It was going fine and it ruined itself.
Do you think a patch could fix this?
A patch to take out a portion of the entire game, maybe. That's not happening. It was just too much fetch questing condensed. And then especially that ticket bullshit, when I was just like, let me go. I can see it from the distance. I see you driving the trolley anyway. You're gonna do it anyway. Let me on the goddamn trolley.
Just hop on the outside and ride it.
Exactly. Murder the ghost conductor and then get on the trolley yourself.
No, it could be worse. You could be that NPC going back and forth with the trolley with no customers for eternity.
I would prefer that. Compared to what that game put me through at the end, I would.
Wow.
Giraffe and Annika, I cannot recommend this game. I'm very sorry. Let's lighten it up, though. Barry, what else have you been playing this week?
So one thing I've started doing this year specifically has been I've been doing like marathons, because when so many games come out, you miss games. It's impossible to play everything.
Oh, sure.
And over time, you might miss entire series. I've missed entire series. Plenty of people have. So I said, you know what? During this downtime, especially 2020 has these down lulls. There's a game release, and then there's lulls for a little bit, and then another release. At least big releases. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna do some marathons. My first one was the Cold Steel games earlier in the year. Then I did the Life is Strange series,
Oh, cool.
and now I'm in the middle of doing the Uncharted series, which I never played before.
Uh-huh. You're watching the Uncharted movies.
I'm watching the Uncharted movies. So I'm doing it on PS4, and I've just finished the second game last night. And on my Twitter, I've been posting my reviews. But I went into it completely, you know, I know Game of the Years and 10 out of 10s and all these reviews, especially for the second one. So I was like, all right, I'm going to give it a shot. Like, give it a fair shot. And I went in, and the first game, I gave a 6.5. Like, the first game literally almost turned me off of the series. I was like, what? There was so many inconsistencies with the checkpoints. The enemies were bullet sponges. The game, it's like an Indiana Jones, you know, adventure game, which was cool.
Yeah.
And I like that, and I like the voice acting, of course, and the story was good. And then at the end, it turns into a horror game, and I
Oh.
hate horror. Like it,
Oh.
and I don't know if you've played it or not,
No, those games do not interest me at all.
but
I love horror games, but this kind of cinematic action platformer where, yeah, it's super not my thing.
well, see, like the whole end game, you're fighting, enemy like normal humans, with guns and stuff, and you finally go into this area, and it's like, oh, well, we need to figure out how to get up, and oh, what's that sound? And all of a sudden, these like zombie kind of creatures start appearing. Like, what? So now you're fighting to survive, and you're shooting them, and eventually, a ladder drops down, and you climb up, and you're like, oh, good, that was terrible. So then you go into this room and you're like, oh, well, we need to open this door. Oh, there's no power. All right, well, let me go to the power generator. It looks over here. So you go over there, and of course, since there's no power, that means the lights are off. So you have this crappy little flashlight. So you get to the power generator, and you need to hit these multiple switches. So you hit the first switch, and now the lights start flashing and emergency sirens, and now it's black with flash. All these zombies start climbing out after you, and you're like panicking, shooting, and running. I'm like, I do not like this at all. Like, this is there's a reason I don't play these type of games. My anxiety is going up. I'm like, this is just poor design to change genre that quickly at the very end. Like when Evoland did the change of genres, it was quick little things, but that was the gimmick of the game. This is not the gimmick of the game. This is literally like playing Mario and suddenly having it turn into, I don't know, a first-person shooter, roguelike. Like, wait, what? No, that's not what I want in a Mario game. I want, even when like Banjo-Tooie did a little first-person shooter stuff, it was a small little section. This was a major component. This wasn't a side thing. You had no choice. You had to do this. And then I'm like, all right, after that, I'm like, it's done. I can go back to regular enemies. No, the zombies are still attacking with the regular enemies. I'm like, oh my god.
Wow.
So that really kind of put me off. And the final boss was literally a quick time event. I'm like, really?
Boy, that's very of its time, is it not?
Yeah, very of its time. And that's the thing. There's quick time events, but they're not consistent. And what I mean by that is when a game like God of War has quick time events, going through God of War there's going to be quick time events. You're prepared for it. But in this, you'll suddenly get into a struggle, and suddenly there's a quick time event, or like something's falling on you, and suddenly you have to quickly push a button. You're not ready for it, and you have like 2 seconds. So most people will die on the first time because they're not expecting to have to push a button. They're like, oh, This is just a movie. He's going to get out of the way. What's that circle in the bottom? What? No, I didn't push it in time. I'm dead. Now I got to replay that whole section. Are you serious? Like, is it blindsiding?
Oh, it doesn't like auto-save right before the scene or let you retry from the
checkpoints are inconsistent. So some are absolutely, and some it's like, oh, well, you know that 3 waves of enemies you just killed? Well, now you got to kill them again because you didn't push circle in time.
That's the worst.
And it's like, really? And when they're already bullet sponges. So then I went to the second game, and I'm like, all right, everyone says it gets better, and it does. The second game is significantly better. I gave it an 8.5. It's still inconsistent on the checkpoints, very unfair on some sections. Ridiculous how, like, when you kill a group of enemies, it should save, but it doesn't always save. So if you die, you fall off. My other big thing I had is the roll button and the cover button are the same button. They're both circle.
I hate when things like that are mapped to the same button.
Yeah, and triangle's like not even really, it's used in like hand-to-hand combat, but it's not used just exploring. So one of them should have been triangle. But what's interesting is like there's been multiple times where I'm like, you sniper fire and I'm trying to roll out of the way and it covers me, or like a grenade's there, I'm trying to roll out of the way and it covers to the wall right next to the grenade. Boom, I'm dead, really. And vice
versa. Yeah, because that's 2 actions that you would often do in tandem with each other. Like you would roll into cover or you'd roll out of cover or something like that, right?
Well, there's buttons for like jumping over or get it rolling out of cover. It's the same button, actually. It's circle. Rolling to another piece of cover, it's still circle. Woof. But there's other times where I try to cover, like there's groups of enemies, I'm quick cover and I roll into the gunfire and boom, 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 down. That's not what I wanted to do. So like little frustrations. But the story did get better. The graphics obviously got better. The gameplay, the less bullet spongy. Like the first game, you couldn't run up and like start fighting with people because you would just get murdered. But in this one, I actually felt more like invincible. I could run up and start punching people. I felt a little bit more fun it was definitely a more fun experience. So now I'm looking forward to doing the third game and moving on. I've heard mixed things. Some people say it's their favorite. Some people say it's a step down. Some people say they liked it less than the first game, which really worries me. But it's nice to just go back and do these games on a fresh perspective, not through nostalgia and and you can do back to back to back. You're not waiting for sequels. You can just really experience the story. Like you said, like cinematic. It's like watching a movie. It's like binging a movie, a series, or binging a TV show season. You don't have to wait a week for the next episode. So I've been enjoying it overall, and I do recommend people do that if you've got some time. Just take a series you never even tried, never even experienced. I know some people will be doing that, in a couple weeks with Mario. They didn't get to play some games. They're gonna get to binge some. I don't know. I just find it fun.
Yeah. I really want to do that with the new Tomb Raider games.
Yes.
We own 2 of them, and my husband really loved them, and I've heard them really highly recommended from people who I really respect their opinions. So I'm looking forward to do that with Tomb Raider.
Yeah, and it's great.
Do you remember, by the way, with Uncharted, when Uncharted first came out, people were calling it Dude Raider?
Yes. Oh, yeah. And it very much. It feels like a mix between Tomb Raider and the Prince of Persia games.
Yeah.
And like a little Gears of War with the combat. And it's sometimes it's inconsistent. Like there's puzzle segments and there's dungeons where it's just puzzles, and I'm like, oh, I like that. And then there's ones where it's wave after wave after wave of enemies and blindsiding enemies, and that's kind of, to me, annoying. Like I find finding the enemies the weakest part, just because I just want to do the story. And that's something I will say, the writing in these games, at least in the first 2, especially the second, is very good. And of course the voice acting is great. And like there's one section where like you have to go, in the second game you need to get power to an elevator. And immediately my thought was, oh no, not this again. Like, this is broad daylight, you're in a city, but I'm just thinking, and literally Nathan was just like, oh man, please don't let there be zombies. And like they said that, and I'm like, oh my god, I was thinking like that. Like, that's meta. I like that. I get where they're coming from, and there was none, of course. But
okay,
it was
good.
like, I was like, oh, thank you. Like, you're calling out that. Or there are times where like a third wave has appeared, and I'm thinking like, seriously? And like Nathan's like, seriously, more of these guys? I'm like, yes, even you. That means the developers acknowledge that people are going to be annoyed by this, so that they have to write that into the dialogue.
Is that good, though? Because if you're acknowledging, even in character dialogue, that, a gameplay segment is either overwhelming or not fun or just repetitive, then maybe just remove that from your game. You can only do that sort of meta commentary thing so many times,
That I agree with, and like the extra waves I agree with. The whole line about zombies I thought was brilliant, because there was none, and it was clearly a reference to the first game. And I liked that. I like being the meta humor, especially referencing previous games in the series. Like in the first game, you have a girl companion with you for a good portion of it, and in the second game, there's a second girl, and of course they meet, and when they're like, oh, who is she? And the girl from the first game walks up to the other girl and goes, oh, I'm last year's model. Like, I thought that was pretty brilliant. Like, that's
good. Yeah.
That is really good to just, like, yeah, we acknowledging it right away. Like kind of like Bond, or even Indiana Jones. It was a different, girl in the second movie. So I like that. I like that type of meta humor and stuff. So like I said, the writing was worth it. And honestly, if the gameplay doesn't excite you, you could probably just YouTube all the movie segments and the cutscene segments and get enough out of it. And if I really wasn't feeling the gameplay in the second game, I probably would have done that, because I do enjoy the story.
Interesting.
So I probably like you might want to look up the Giraffe and Annika ending, just to see the mystery solved and save yourself.
No, I will not give that game the satisfaction.
Oh, you're bitter.
No.
You're bitter and scorned. Giraffe and Annika. I could see you just going like to a zoo when they open and finding the giraffes and go, I hate your game.
No, I would never do that.
But what about you? What other games have you been playing this week?
So, very, very briefly, I want to mention Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered Edition, the longest title ever. Leave it to Square Enix and Final Fantasy specifically to have the long titles.
That's not the longest title ever.
It's getting there. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered Edition is the full title.
You talk about Final Fantasy. I'll come back. Yeah, I got to think about this for a second.
So, very briefly, I'm having a great time still in single player. It's fun. Still having problems with the online, but we'll talk a tad about that in the news section because the producer, I think, or was it the director of the game, did make a statement apologizing about the online issues that they've been having and that they are going to fix them sometime this month in September. So I'll probably end up talking about it on the podcast sometime in the future. But I've been playing a lovely little game. Let's talk about something positive here.
Yes.
Lovely little game called Dodo Peak.
Yes.
What's a little golf clap over there?
Oh, I agree with you.
Okay, cool. So this is a cute little puzzle game that came from Apple Arcade, I believe.
Originally,
and
yes.
It is very arcadey, very simple. You go from world to world, kind of like Super Mario Bros. 3 or Super Mario World, or, World 1, Level 2, and so on and so on. And it's each stage is its own isolated little stage where you collect your eggs. You play as a dodo, a bird, and you collect your little eggs of your little baby dodos. You collect coins and other collectibles. Doing so, you avoid enemies, hazards, so on and so forth. You move from like square to square in sort of like a diagonal isometric viewpoint. So think of like Super Mario RPG in terms of, you're going diagonally pretty much all the time. It's quite difficult, but in a really good way. There's really a lot of accessibility options. You can slow it down if you want to, which is great for the elderly like myself. It's great in case you're a little bit overwhelmed by the visual aesthetic. The visuals are great, like the colors pop and everything like that. So it looks really cute and really polished. Going back to the gameplay though, all the levels are designed pretty well. They're fairly short, and it was designed, of course, for Apple Arcade, so like kind of a phone or something like that. So short bursts of play, perfect for the Switch. And when you go around the stages and you're avoiding your hazards, you're collecting your baby dodo eggs. Each egg that you collect hatches a baby dodo, and then it's following behind you, kind of like a caterpillar party, like an RPG. And so you have to watch out for those baby dodos behind you because they can get hit by hazards as well. So that adds like an extra layer of difficulty. And going over to the visuals, they are simple and all the colors pop, but they're very polished. So there's little touches like if you overlap onto a square with your baby dodos, you don't just like overlap onto their model like a deck of cards. The little baby dodo will hop onto your head or onto your backpack, or they stack on top of each other. Just a little visual flourish that they didn't need to add in there. All in all, it's just like a really cute, lovely little experience. I love to play some puzzle games right before I go to bed just because it kind of winds me down. I've been playing a lot of Picross lately, but this is totally going to go in my rotation of games that I play right before bed for, 15 minutes or so. I guess if I could, make a critique or a suggestion or something like that, I think that one thing I wish they had is like a colored highlight around the square that your baby dodos are on, because I think that would help me keep track of danger zones a little bit better. I don't think that something like that is in the game. I looked through the accessibility options, didn't see anything like that, but just a highlight on there I think would help for, the elderly who get confused by the visual overload.
That's awesome to hear that you've been enjoying Dodo Peak, because
I've played it as well, yeah?
I have played it, and I have also, slight plug, on our Nintendo Fuse YouTube, you could actually go. I did an industry talk with the developers of this game. So I actually sat down and did talk with them. Great people, great studio. Dodo Peak, I 100% agree with you. We've had a blast with it. Just such a cool game. A lot of people have been hunting for the top spot in the leaderboards. That's something really cool, is the leaderboards there per level. And the weekly challenge. Have you been doing the weekly challenge? Oh my god, those get grueling.
Yeah, I just started out playing the game, so I'm kind of still learning the mechanics. And I started the weekly challenge because I was like, oh, let's just try it. And I died so quickly, I was like, later in the week we will try this challenge.
Yeah, they're pretty tough, but it's not that tough like, oh, this is too hard. It's that one more try tough. Like I got to
Yeah,
figure out the fastest route or the best route. And
definitely, because like everything loads very quickly, so you can do the one more try very easily. But when you lose, you know that like, okay, I lost because I need to try this, or I should have tried this. So let me come at this problem from a different angle and sort of problem solve it. And problem solving puzzle games are what I live for. So just having such a great time with it. I didn't expect it at all. Like I was like, okay, yeah, puzzle game, la la la. But no, this is up there for me.
one of the weekly challenges they had, you start obviously at the top, you have to go to the bottom, and there's 3 plateaus. You go down to the first, second, third. Each one has one of the eggs. But then you're at the bottom, so then you have to get back up. And there's tons of obstacles just getting down there. Now getting back up, you have 3 eggs with you that you have to try to dodge. So you have to decide, do you grab them all on the way down and go back up, or do you want to go down first and grab the bottom one and then work your way back up? And it's constant, struggles, and it was such a joy to finally finish that, like during the weekly challenge when that was there. And other people I've talked with said, oh my god, that was so difficult. But even though it took me like 30 minutes to do, I felt so rewarded when I finished it. And I'm like, yeah, I love that you could tackle. There's no right or wrong way to tackle any of these levels.
Yes, and I think that that's a great sign of a good puzzle game is when you have multiple ways and you can kind of do it your own way to solve your puzzle. I should mention that the stages are usually pretty short, at least in the earlier on in the game. There's little challenges of like finish the stage in 30 seconds or less, and it's totally attainable. But then later on, it's not all about going super quick. Later on, after you beat that, difficult stage, you can try and beat it in under the time limit. But I highly recommend just like taking your time, going, squares by squares, and enjoying it that way. That I found it to be much more enjoyable when I started to take that approach.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And it's deceptive. Like you're not, like you said, you're not going to go into this thinking like, oh, this is going to be a really good game. This might be a little crappy little game, but no, it's really good, and there's a lot of replay there, especially with the leaderboards. Because you're friends, you can compete with your friends on Switch and see how well they did versus you. And yeah, I've had a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah, and it runs perfectly on the Nintendo Switch, because that can, if there was like stuttering or something like that, that could really just ruin your entire enjoyment of the game because it's so dependent on you paying attention visually to the game. And I was totally cool with everything. Like it ran perfectly fine for me.
Yeah, I had the same experience. Now, I am curious because last time I was on, we were also talking about another game. And since you've obviously been playing Giraffe and Final Fantasy and Dodo Peak, I want to know, did you finish Cold Steel 3?
No, I did not finish it.
Oh, no.
No way. That game is so long.
No.
I will though. I took a little break from it. Took a little break. But don't worry. I'll get there and you and I will talk about it.
I was like, oh, he's been doing all this other, he's got to finish Cold Steel 3 already. No.
No, I nurse my games for sure. I still haven't beaten Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Oh, I can't do that. When I get addicted to a game, I'm like, no, I got to see this through.
Oh, okay.
Or rage quit at the end, like Giraffe.
So infrequently do I do that.
I do it so infrequently too. I'll quit before it gets to that point. You were also mentioning about longer titles with the Final Fantasy. I didn't find the longest, of course, but I just browsing quickly through found one. Layton's Mystery Journey, Catriel, and the Millionaire's Conspiracy Deluxe Edition.
Yes, that is good. Games that have like a subtitle like that, of course they're going to be, kind of longer. I give those a little bit of a pass because the subtitle is part of the
Crystal
title.
Chronicles is, the subtitle.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. I'll stop being so harsh. See,
I'm gonna be hard.
What is this voice of reason that you're giving me? Galen would normally say something ridiculous and then I get to clap back. You've put me in my spot. What is going on here?
Well, sometimes you just need a change of pace,
So how about you? Anything else, Barry, that you've been playing this week?
Yeah, nothing that I've really been playing, but something I did want to talk about. Because the last time I was on here, I actually teased that there would be some big news. I don't know if you guys talked about it or not, but I left you and the listeners with that little bit of a teaser. And the news came out the next week. I don't know if you guys have talked to at all about Premium Edition games.
We have not. Please tell us about this.
So Premium Edition Games is a brand new physical publisher on the Switch. Right now, we've announced 3 titles. The first one that is up for pre-order right now is Super Blood Hockey, which is a fantastic ode to ice hockey and Blades of Steel on the NES, but ultra-violent, where little fights, people can die on the literally from fights, and they stay dead. There's no replacement. They just stay dead bleeding on the ice while you just continue skating. You're down a member of your team. It's got a full franchise mode that's like it's an RPG. It's literally you buy players from a prison, you have to train them, you choose their training regimen, you choose what they eat, they go up stats every game, and from training they get better, but you also have to watch their brain injury because they could get too brain damage from too many fights. So there's a lot of play with how you do that. Very, very well done game, and that is the first one. The second game is going to be the Pigeon Dev Games Collection, which is 4 games in one, all on the cart, which is something I'm a big fan of. Compilations and all, like no download. That's all on the cart. And then our last announced one is A Robot Named Fight. A great Metroidvania.
Yeah, I know that game.
Yep. So they're bringing those to the physical space, and it was started by my fellow co-host on the Switch Mania Playcast, and they brought me on board, so I'm part of it, and been active in the Discord and answering emails and doing interviews for Premium Edition games. So yeah, if you want more information on that, premiumeditiongames.com. And like I said, our first game is already available for pre-order. You could pre-order there if you're in the States, but our biggest complaint we got was international shipping, because naturally that's higher. So we just announced a partnership with Video Games Plus. So you can go there if you're international or Canadian and purchase it there, and you get the same shipping as if you were in the States. So you get much cheaper shipping that way.
Awesome. That is really great that you offer that sort of solution. Yeah,
well, it's... You know me, I'm the type of person that I'm a people pleaser. I like to just help other people, and when we got that many complaints about it, it was like we don't control the prices with shipping. Like that's not, of course, yeah. It's USPS. What could we do? So VGP reached out. We came to an agreement, and a great partnership, and they're great guys over there, and we're really happy to be able to offer that. So now everybody who is a collector of the Switch, especially being region-free, can enjoy these games, because Super Blood Hockey is absolutely one of those games. Like, I don't know if you've played it or if you looked at it. Even if you don't like hockey, it's just fun to just, mess around and see the fights and the brawls and the 8-bit blood going everywhere. It's just really, really interesting.
Awesome. So moving on into the news... As mentioned earlier, the Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered Edition director put out a statement saying that they received a lot of feedback from players about issues, and they are moving forward to fix them. We have a website, we have a website, of course, NintendoEverything.com, but we have an article on our website that lists the full statement and the full list of fixes that are going to happen. Specifically for the Switch edition, they're going to fix some of the server issues, connectivity issues, some other little tiny bugs, but mostly it's that online connectivity that's really, I think, on the forefront of everybody's mind, especially mine, because while that game was live, it said unable to connect and this feature's not available or whatever, and I'm like, what? Like, can I play with Game Online, please, with friends? Like, that was the whole reason, or the whole appeal of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. So hopefully it gets fixed, because that would be such a shame.
There's a lot of issues with this game, and it saddens me that it was even released in this state. Besides the online not even working, I've heard like the caravans you don't get one caravan for your group, so you have to do like dungeons 4 times for everybody to get the progress. And of course, to me, the biggest thing is no local. The game originally was designed around multiplayer. You had to have the GBAs and the Game Link cables, and to not have local in 2020, that's such a huge, that's not even a misstep. That's just why?
Yeah, it is odd. there must be some sort of reason for them because they actually had to remove it from the game. So, I mean, even removing the feature cost them, development time and resources. So there must have been some sort of reason. Not that I'm like, defending that decision or anything, but yeah, I mean, I really wish that there was local. As you mentioned, like with the caravan thing, if you're playing with 4 people online, the host is the only person that receives the basically story progression for beating that dungeon. And so if you want to play together with a friend, then they have to beat that dungeon on their own, or they have to host it on their own. And even though the majority of the time later on you're going to be replaying dungeons with people online to get loot and drops, and that's your main thing, kind of like Monster Hunter, still I think that is just a crappy thing for people in the beginning, or people who just want to play the game casually with friends online. That should not be the case.
That's terrible. There's no excuse for that. Make everybody gain the same story progression, because that way, if you're going with your friends, if you have 3 other friends and you just want to play through the game together, hey, that's part of the appeal. You have to do everything 4 times. That's ridiculous. Like, is one thing when you're doing a dungeon for loot, like, you're going in and that's what it's doing. You're having fun doing that. But when you have to play for repetition just for the sake of completion, then to me that changes the whole outlook on the dungeon and makes me resent the trip. Like, I'm just doing this because I have to, not because I want to, and therefore it's nowhere near as fun. And they've done it so well with like their other RPGs, like Final Fantasy XIV, their MMO. If you have a quest and your friend has the same quest and you're in a party together and you have to go to an area and click on something which spawns monsters to kill to move on in that story quest, you click it once, you and your friend kill those monsters, and you both get credit. Like, that's how it should be.
It's a shame 14 is not on the Switch.
Oh, I don't think it would run on the Switch. It's too much of a game.
Really? The PS3 ran it though, didn't it?
Yeah,
or
but they
certain
also
parts of it.
They ran it, but they actually stopped support on the PS3. You can no longer do that because they didn't want to run into the same situation they ran into with Final Fantasy XI, where they couldn't implement certain things because of PS2 limitations. Yeah. So now they actually cut off PS3.
God, I forgot 11 was on the PS2, not the PS3.
No, it's PS2 and 360, but yeah, PS2 limitations. So that's actually where I started playing it, on the PS2. But yeah, with this, they cut off PS3 after Heavensward was done when Stormblood came out, just to avoid that. So they didn't have those. So if they go back, could the Switch run it? Yes, but there's limitations, and then people will be like, well, why can't we have more inventory space? Well, it's because of the Switch. Why can't we do this? Because of the Switch. And then people start resenting the Switch, so we don't want that.
Yeah.
Maybe if a Switch 2 or Switch Pro comes out or something, maybe then. Because they do want to bring it to the Switch.
Yeah, we've heard rumblings about it for sure. And next in the news, a leaked patent of... a leaked patent of something like a portable GameCube that seems to show docking capabilities as well. So this was from back before the Wii, and this is coming out from the leaks as of late from Nintendo. We've sort of covered them briefly. This is why companies don't want their stuff to leak. Say the Switch wasn't what the Switch is right now, and this is a brand new concept, and this patent leaks, and this could really cause a lot of damage to a company. So recently, a Twitter user, Luigi Blood, I believe they noticed this in the huge amount of stuff that came out from the leaks, and it shows like a portable GameCube with like SD card and GameCube memory slots, AV out, potential HD capabilities too. It's hard to exactly tell from the patent, but this was potentially an idea for the successor to the GameCube, and it would have I mentioned that it would have supported HD TV possibly. What do you think about this, Barry?
I mean, from a history analyst point of view, it's very interesting because Nintendo are really, they're ahead of their time. As many people will say, like, oh, Nintendo needs to get up, their consoles are underpowered. And while I do agree it would be nice if they did have the same power, they are ahead of their time in a lot of ways, and some things don't work out right away. Mostly, probably, I would say due to cost. A lot of things, are just so expensive at the time it wouldn't work, so they have to wait until things are a little more affordable. I'd like to say, things would have been awesome if they went this route and they did release this, but I can't say that because even as much as people may, dog on the Wii won its generation. It sold over 100 million units. So
absolutely, it had a ripple effect on the entire gaming industry.
yeah, so they absolutely, one might say it was a revolution. They definitely did well with the Wii. Wii U not so much, but with the Wii, absolutely. So, could this have been a game changer? Yes. Could have been a lot of things. It also could have been another failure. There's no way really to know. But it's interesting to know that they were thinking about this docked type of system back then before, implementing it over a decade later with the Switch.
Yeah. I mean, lots of ideas just take time to bake, and everything you said, whether it's cost or whatever, the idea needs to be tweaked a little bit.
Yeah. And especially with such a competitive, industry. I mean, just look.
Oh yeah, competitive and secretive AF.
100. But look at the Wii. The Wii came out, and what happened? Microsoft copied with the Kinect, and PlayStation copied even more so with the Move.
Right.
Absolutely. Hey, they're doing something. Let's try. The Rumble, N64 did the Rumble. PlayStation added Rumble. This whole industry is about copying and pasting one another, and we're going to take your idea and we're going to do it ourselves. Even just now, the Switch has HD Rumble, and the PS5 has their new HD Rumble type technology in their controllers.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, I forget, it's DualSense or something like that. I forget exactly what it's called. I'm sure someone will be like, it's this, but yeah, it's one of those things where any good idea will be copied or will be utilized in some way, and that's the same with everything. So Microsoft will do it, Sony will do it, Nintendo will do it. That's why they're all so secretive. That's why right now we're literally at a stalemate on the Sony and Microsoft revealing price and release date.
Oh yeah, they're just like, you reveal it, no you, no you, no you.
Because when one does it, the other one will go right away. It's DualSense, by the way. The PS5 controller uses DualSense. Okay. But that's exactly why. And especially after last generation, when Microsoft was like, here's Xbox One with a DRM, and Sony was like, here's ours $100 cheaper, and here's how to share games. Here you go.
Yeah, they
no
really
DRM.
undercut them, and that made them look so much better.
Oh, 100% better. Well, I mean, look at what happened with the Saturn. Look, this isn't anything new.
Yeah, the guy from Sony walked on stage after the Saturn presentation and the price. The guy from Sony walked on stage and he was like, $300, and just walked off or something like that.
It was $299.
$299, yeah. Walked on, said the price.
Yeah, that's
ultimate mic drop.
That's it. Just the price and walked away. Didn't say, there was left his speech there, and that's it. This is a very cutthroat industry. Are they friends? Yes. The higher ups, they're friends with each other. They like each other, but in the end of the day, this is very much a competitive industry. And as much as Nintendo says we're not in competition with Sony and Microsoft, they are. And well, I think it was Reggie did it. They had an article. An interview, and he's like, we're in competition with everybody. We're in competition with newspapers and TV shows and movies and music and everything, because we're all in terms of your time. Yes. You only have so much free time in a day. We're in competition for that time with everybody that could steal it away.
Yeah.
And that's probably the best outlook you can really do, is everybody else is trying to steal the time. Yeah. If you're playing Dodo Peak, that means you're not playing Giraffe and Annika. Thank God, That is a correct statement. So therefore, you're also not playing any of the thousands or millions of other games out there. You can only play one at a time. So this leak, and the leak itself is terrible. This is fascinating to see that this is even happening. Like this was their thought, because we knew about other stuff like the Atlantis. Remember the Atlantis?
Oh, what's that? Remind me.
That was the follow-up to the Game Boy, the 32-bit portable system that later became the Game Boy Advance, but we're not really sure if it did become the Game Boy Advance. It might have been like another third pillar, because Nintendo likes to do that with the Virtual Boy and the DS, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of these ideas that never come to be or come to be much later on. And clearly, based on the success of the Switch, Nintendo was onto something with this whole dock thing. And it would have been travesty. It either would have been copied and done by somebody else, which could have been great for them, or it could have been done poorly. Not everybody who copies ideas makes it, done well. Like the Move and the Kinect are prime examples. Even though the Kinect did sell well, I don't know if you ever played a Kinect game. They're terrible.
Yeah, I haven't played very many fun Kinect games.
Yeah.
And I've also heard that if you have varying shades of dark skin, the Kinect does not even recognize you.
Ugh,
so I feel very bad for our very dark friends, like having that not even be a viable option for you to play. That racist Kinect.
Racist Kinect. Well, then there's also the fun instances. I don't know if you remember the E3 where Microsoft touted everybody should watch E3 through their Xbox 360s, and they were showing off the new techniques that they were going to be doing with the Xbox One with the Kinect. And they're like, look, you could even turn it off. Just go Xbox off. And suddenly all those people who were watching E3 presentation on their 360s that had Kinect, it turned their systems off.
Did it really?
Yes.
Oh
Because
my
it heard the
God.
command.
Like, I mean, that's like a perfect, joke kind of thing that kind of gets like spread through the internet, but it's not actually true. That was really true?
Yeah, that happened. As far as I'm
Wow.
aware, that happened. I don't remember if it was 360 or the Xbox One when it first came out, but yeah, they were showing off new. Look how great the Kinect is. You could turn it on and off even with a command. Watch, and they did it.
Oh my God! What if somebody is listening to our podcast through their Xbox?
Oh well.
And you just turned it off.
Most likely, people don't have their Kinects hooked up anymore.
Yeah, most likely.
I mean, it was a neat idea, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
a lot of people were like, always listen. It's so funny. So many people are like, oh my God, it's always listening. Oh, they're spying on me, paranoid, blah blah blah. But they have
They
these
said
things.
as they're talking to their Alexa.
They have Alexa that's always listening. They've got Echo that's always listening. They've got a phone with Siri or with whatever the Google Assistant is that's always listening. And it's always listening because you say, oh, I need a new hammer, and you pull up Facebook on your phone, and suddenly there's a Lowe's ad for hammers and stuff like that. Wait a minute, we were just talking about this.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've experienced something like that.
I have an old phone that doesn't have that capability, so I'm currently safe. But yeah, that's
My
totally
wife
a
is
thing.
talking about these new shoes she got. She saw an ad. She wanted to try them. Oh, high heel shoes. Nothing that would ever be targeted to me. And sure enough, that night I was pulling up Facebook, and there was an ad for those exact shoes. And I'm like, oh my God, like that is scary.
They should have recommended you to the lipstick to match your shoes too,
Yeah,
Barry.
clearly. But that's just it. Like so many people made such a big deal about Xbox Connect, and then they're doing it themselves anyways with other devices. So
Yeah. I heard it was really cool tech that was actually used in a lot of medical device stuff too.
Yes.
So I mean that's also the cool thing about like just technology in general is that the first implementation it might not work out, but then it ends up getting used subsequently or gets iterated on, and that's always just the fun of technology.
yeah, reverse engineering it, of course. I think they used the Kinect in some kind of like rover or something. I don't know if they used it in space or just like they did design contests where people were making like little rovers using Kinect
That's cute.
as the camera sensor.
And especially, you always hear about like how the Wii and also the Kinect to some degree were used for like the elderly or in elderly homes or something like that to keep people moving and to keep people healthy. And that is always so awesome to hear,
Oh yeah, the Wii Sports was in like every nursing home.
Absolutely. Like there's, grandmas and grandpas who play Wii bowling and Wii Sports to this day, That's why, I mean, this is another conversation and we need to move on to the Direct, but that is part of why the Wii U just like wouldn't have succeeded. You know, the Wii was the thing that you needed to keep supporting to some degree as your third pillar, as your casual thing, as your health thing. They should have kept that going. I'd stand by that statement.
I'm kind of glad they didn't, because that would have been more games to buy.
No, like I mean, for you, yes, as a collector,
Yes.
right? But for me, you know, that could have just been the grandma machine, and that's great because
Absolutely.
they're using it, they're selling. But then you have your very clearly dedicated video game console. You know, that's why I love the Switch so much, is that it is very much a video game ass console, right?
With a little bit of everything. It's got the Wii bowling and clubhouse games. It's got the exercise from Ring Fit Adventures, and
Mhm.
it's got the hardcore, great games that are just so frustrating, like Giraffe and Annika.
Giraffe and Annika. I like the way you think.
Absolutely. So shall we go to the direct now?
Yes, on to the big topic of discussion this week, Nintendo's Super Mario 35th Anniversary Direct. It's been long rumored since the cancellation of E3, because we heard that Nintendo had big plans for E3 to be the reveal of this kind of thing and the celebration of Mario. Then they kind of delayed it, for whatever internal reasons, for whatever unsure situations because of the coronavirus global pandemic. So totally makes sense. That's why everybody was freaking out and being like, where's video games? And it's like, just can you chill? People are dying right now. Chill a little bit, okay?
But I need my video games.
So we got some video games this week. Let's start off. Let's just go into it. Super Mario 3D All-Stars was announced.
Oh, so much for the chronological. You're going right.
Did I? I didn't write this in. I said I was gonna do this in chronological. I didn't write it in chronological. Do you know what it is in chronological order off the top of your head?
No, it doesn't matter. We can just go with whatever. I'm just laughing because
I'm
totally
keeping you on your toes. That's what I'm doing.
Did write it that way.
Totally intentional.
Gotcha.
Okay, Super Mario 3D All-Stars. This is a collection of Super Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy 1. All of them are in HD. Starting off with Mario 64 is in HD 720p, not 1080. And it is, of course, the 64 version, not the DS version, which has a lot more content, is arguably the better version, except for the contentious controls in the 64 version. Barry, I have a very strong feeling that you have some thoughts about this. Let's hear it.
I mean, I'm not upset. I'm actually excited to go back and play Mario 64 again. It's been a long time. However, I do wish that they went ahead, even if they didn't update the visuals. Some people are like, oh, the visuals are very, N64 still, and I think that's the point.
Yes, I agree. Totally agree.
But I do wish they added in those extra stars and made it so like Luigi, Wario, and Yoshi were playable as options, since they were in this kind of like mixing the both together. This really isn't it's adding new content to an older game, but it's not really developing new content because that already exists in the DS version. And I think it could have been like you look at what they did with like Hyrule Warriors, for example, on the Switch, and you took the original Hyrule Warriors on Wii U with all its DLC, and then they took Hyrule Warriors Legends on the 3DS with all its DLC and put them both together with some added new character skins for the definitive version. That's great. That is absolutely how it should have been. They should have taken Mario 64 and 64 DS and put them together with all that content, and just really had it be like one ultimate version. But yeah. I digress. I'm still happy that not only do I get to replay this, for me, I've seen a lot of comments of people who never played Mario 64, and they're excited to play it for the first time. And for them, I am overjoyed and jealous because I would love to replay that game with a fresh pair of eyes.
It's because that game came out nearly 25 years ago, and there are people who are younger than 25.
You're right. Despite the DS re-release and the virtual consoles and stuff.
My only real gripe with this is that it's not in widescreen. I wish that they would have done it for widescreen. I mentioned this on a podcast I'm going to be guesting on. I mean, I already did the thing, but it's going to come out later. Josh Corbett. I've done some work for him before with his Final Fantasy podcast. I guested on his podcast to talk about this collection specifically. Sometimes in games, in the areas that is not immediately visible on your screen, things are popping in because they're not being immediately rendered to save on memory or whatever. So I know it's not just a click of a button to just make the game widescreen. You know, you have to readjust your UI, you have to adjust what's popping in, how it's loaded. There's a bunch of developing things that needs to go in there. However, I think that they could have spent the extra effort to just make Mario 64 in 720p widescreen. Because this is something that's going to sell like crazy. So they can guarantee the returns on this monetarily. So there's no fear of like putting in extra development time and money. But at the same time, on the other side of that coin, people are going to buy the shit out of this regardless whether it's widescreen or not. So why would you go through the effort to put it in widescreen? I see it as two things. I'm of two minds on this.
You stole exactly what I was gonna say.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I was gonna play devil's advocate and said it was gonna sell regardless.
Yeah.
The widescreen thing doesn't bother me as much, though I wish they did that. I do also wish that if they weren't gonna do the widescreen, which they didn't, we at least got a border or something instead of the black.
Oh, yeah. Maybe there will be some border options or something. They would have showed that off probably.
They would have showed that off.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, look at
Bad game 2020.
Like, look at the Mega Man Legacy Collection, for example. Those aren't in full widescreen. They're in the
Right.
normal aspect ratio, but there's borders. In fact, there's choosable borders, I believe, on those.
Yeah.
I was going to say, what else is in that collection?
That would be Mario Swenschwein. I don't know how to say this word. I've never heard it before.
Swanshin. I like that.
Yes, in HD, finally, and widescreen. Unlike Mario 64. It's going to be in 1080p, which is lovely. However, for some people, for some weirdos, they're weirdos. No GameCube controller support, and they're upset.
It's all because that analog triggers the shoulder buttons.
But how often did you just slightly press in that analog trigger for this game? You know what I mean? You were always doing full blast.
I honestly can't remember because the last time I played it was 2002 which is when it came out.
Same.
So it's been a long time, and again, I'm excited to replay, Sunshine, because I haven't played it in so long. I mean, it's almost been 20 years. I doubt I'll do the blue coin thing again like I did the first time, but who knows, maybe I'm a sucker for punishment. From there I'll go right to Giraffe and Annika. But yeah, I think this is great. Again, a lot of people have never played this game. It's also never been ported. The only way to play this game is still the GameCube.
Yeah.
So a lot of people who didn't have a GameCube or never got the disc to play on their Wii, they never had a chance to play this. And it almost feels like the black sheep of the 3D Mario games.
Uh-huh.
So it's great that it gets a second chance.
I think, it's funny, we talked about this on the podcast that I'll be guesting on. We talked about this being the black sheep as well out of the 3D Marios. And right now, there's a lot of GameCube nostalgia that's really hot right now because a lot of the people that grew up with the GameCube as pretty much their first or their major console as they were growing up, they are now in their 20s.
Yep.
So there's a lot of nostalgia for SpongeBob on the GameCube or Mario Sunshine. And so I think it's getting a better rep than it used to. But I would say that this still is a bit of an outlier. I definitely felt that way when I played it back in the day. I didn't like it. I didn't even beat it just because I didn't like the flood mechanic that I constantly had, It changed the platforming entirely, and it just wasn't my thing. So I am really looking forward to going back and seeing, how do I feel about it nowadays?
Well, then, did you ever get to, the challenge levels where they take away flood?
I did, and those are my favorite.
Those are really good.
Yeah, I really liked those. They were few and far between, though.
Yeah, there's a lot to that game, and a lot of people don't, really realize, because it is Mario 64 2 in a sense. It's in the same block with Odyssey and Mario 64, and that here's an open world, here's your objectives, go play around in the sandbox and do these objectives. Unlike the next game in the collection.
Yeah, and this is a topic for another time, but I'm lukewarm on Mario Odyssey, I'll be honest. I know.
For shame.
It's fine. It's just, I don't know, it doesn't excite me like so many other games do.
Oh, I loved Odyssey. I had so much fun 100%ing it.
Yeah, I still gotta go back and play it, but I'm just not driven to go back and play it, you know?
I was so driven because Mario 64 when that came out, and I think it really depends on your age, you know, growing up, you know, with the 2D Mario and then to see Mario 64. I was in 8th grade, and it was so pivotal. Oh my God, here it is 3D and done so well. It was done so well. It was a huge deal for us. It was just like, oh my God, seeing this, and not just everybody, that whole sandbox thing hadn't been done before. We really didn't have these open worlds to really explore. There was other games that may have attempted it, but 3D was in its infancy, so it was really difficult. But Mario 64 did it so well that it became just a joy. Like, how many players just went to Bomb Battlefield and just ran around for shits and giggles? Like, no objective, just to fly around and just to play, because we had never experienced anything like that before. Even getting the end and getting to fly around the castle, there was nothing to do. It was just fun.
Yeah,
it was, oh my God, I get to fly around this 3D environment. I never thought I would get to do this. So that type of wonder, you know, happened again in Sunshine to a lesser degree, and then hadn't been done till Odyssey, you know, 16 years later. So for me, it was like that wonder again. Like, I was back in 8th grade playing Odyssey. Like, oh my God, this is just so much fun. So I had to play through it.
Yeah, I definitely had that feeling leading up to the game's release. And then when I was playing it, I just kind of the game flow where you're just finding these things all over the place. And I just wasn't super challenged by it, you know? I just felt like, oh, this is a great game for younger gamers getting into it, getting into Mario or something like that, you know, with like the constant source of, what's that called? Gratification, because you're constantly finding things. For me, I really enjoyed, like, on 64, there was, 10 stars? 8 stars for each level, really?
Well, 7 counting the 100 coins.
Okay. And so I liked those bigger challenges, even though they weren't like hard or anything. It felt like you were really working toward a goal. And just in terms of game flow, that's just more my speed.
You say difficult. Odyssey starts easy, but you never got to the end. And some of those challenges get very difficult. In fact, some of them are replay challenges of previous things. Like, one is, you know, in New Donk City, you're on the little motorcycle and you have to drive to the end and the girders start disappearing and you have to keep going. But then at the end, you have to do that exact same thing, but you don't get the motorcycle. And now you have to run and roll, and you have the same time restriction, and it changes the whole way you do it, and it is difficult to try until you figure it out. And then, of course, there's the moon, the dark side of the moon, and then the darker side of the moon, which is the final level. And the final level is a gauntlet, and you got to do it one and done. Like, you have to go through this level that's divided into sections with no checkpoints, and it puts everything you have to the test.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, especially these days, par for the course for a Nintendo game to be easy and then difficult in the post game. Like, remember in 3D World, which we'll talk about in a second, there was Champions Road.
Oh, that was tough.
That level was so hard, and I had such a great time finally beating it.
That was grueling.
Yeah.
3D Land did the same thing.
Did it? I can't remember 3D Land, even though I beat that for sure 100%.
3D Land had a final level. Galaxy and Galaxy 2 had the same thing, too.
Yeah,
final level.
Yeah. Speaking of Galaxy 2...
As in also.
As in, where is it at?
Aww.
Mario Galaxy 1 only in HD in 1080p, also in this collection of 3D All-Stars. It really does baffle my mind why 2 is not in there, other than like they didn't want to give that much value in the game, but doesn't make any sense because where is 2 ever going to be then if it's not in there? Like, it should be in there, you know?
Maybe they'll do an All-Stars, 3D All-Stars 2 with Galaxy
what?
2, with 3D Land, and with Mario 64 DS.
Oh, God, I can't see that happening, but... yeah. Okay. Sure, Barry.
One can dream, right?
Okay. Dream away, and then I'll wake you up from it just like Super Mario Bros. 2.
But I want to battle Wart.
He's never coming back.
He should come back.
Bring back Wart.
He's
What's
the black
going on,
sheep
Nintendo?
Of the 2D
Bad
Marios.
game.
So yeah, with Galaxy 1, again, I'm happy to see this back. I do wish 2 was there, and I've replayed 1 multiple times, but I only did 2 once, so I really want to replay 2. My biggest takeaway is that you have to use Joy-Cons if it's docked or in tabletop. You can't use the Pro Controller. You have to use Joy-Cons to simulate the nunchuck and the Wiimote. They didn't program it in for you to use the Pro Controller. And if you're in like a Switch Lite or in handheld, instead of the cursor, it's touchscreen.
Yeah, so sort of like that is totally true. You can use the Pro Controller, except for that one function of using the what's that called? The little cursor that's on the screen.
Oh, can you actually use the Pro Controller then? Because everything I read said you have to use the Joy-Cons.
Nintendo confirmed that you can use the Pro Controller outside of that one function, the cursor. You have to use the Joy-Con for that cursor, which is going to be like a weird Frankenstein thing of like, okay, I'm sitting there playing the game with my Pro Controller, but then if I really need to collect something, I have my Joy-Con sitting next to me to control the motion. You know what I mean? It's dumb. Like, just program the motion in the Pro Controller to control that cursor on your screen.
Even though the gyroscope in the Pro Controller.
The gyroscope, yeah, in the Pro Controller, or even map it to the right stick, because that right stick, in theory, is not being used.
I'm trying to think. There's some levels where you actually need to, where like you're floating in like a bubble and you have to like point different things to like pull Mario to like different stars as you're going.
Oh,
through.
okay, yeah. I was trying to think because, I mean, overall, that's mostly just used for like collecting star bits and shooting star bits, which I never really did. Collecting star bits, sometimes you end up getting like a wealth of those things and you only need them to unlock, areas to certain stars. So I was like, yeah, I can probably play it without using the Joy-Con. I could probably just use the Pro Controller. But then there's, like you said, those stages where you have to push Mario in the bubble. It's just weird, and I don't know why they didn't create a solution so you can just use the Pro Controller. Because that's what I really want out of Mario Galaxy is no motion controls options. Because sometimes I'm just lazy and tired, and I just want to lay there and touch buttons. I don't want to waggle my aging wrists, okay?
It seems like they wanted to just do this as an easy solution. The same reason we didn't get the widescreen in 64. It was, hey, we can just do this as an easy solution, make the game as it is. It's weird though
because they had to program the Pro Controller, the Pro Controller support to some degree, right? So why not just go the extra mile?
I want to know
it's the same technology, presumably, in the Joy-Con and the Pro Controller for gyro movement in the right Joy-Con. So it's like, what's going on here?
Maybe there'll be a patch.
I can only dream.
So, the one thing with this collection that a lot of people are upset about is the fact that it is limited. It is limited till March.
It is so weird.
It's not weird.
No? Tell me.
Everybody's like, oh my god, this is weird. Why would they do this? Why would they limit money? Nintendo is brilliant. First off, if you study history, there's one thing everyone will say. History repeats itself. During the 25th anniversary, Nintendo released Mario All-Stars for the Wii. They released it as a limited release. It sold out. There was enough demand that they reprinted it one time, again sold out, and they didn't reprint it again until it became a Nintendo Selects game at the very end of the Wii's life. They also did Kirby's Dream Collection for Kirby's anniversary. That also was a limited release, and that also only had one print. So for anniversaries, it's very much in their realm to do these limited releases. That's first. Second, Nintendo stuff sells, and they're giving people 6 months, so it's not like this is a one-time deal. Now with the Wii Mario All-Stars, it was such a limited release, it sold out. This is not going to sell out. This is going to be on sale for 6 months, or a little over 6 months. So it's still, because people hear it's a limited thing, FOMO kicks in. And they're capitalizing 100% on FOMO. They know. Could it sell more afterwards? Possible. Sure, of course, it's Mario. But will it sell more in those 6 months, knowing that it's limited versus if it would always readily be available? Absolutely. And you look at this holiday. What does Nintendo have? Pikmin 3? maybe new Pokemon Snap, we still don't know, and now Mario 3D All-Stars. So this might be their real big holiday title, and it's coming out in September. So they need to move units. Coronavirus hit them harder than they want to admit, and this is what they're banking on. With that FOMO, this is going to sell a lot of units. This is going to sell a lot of Switches. So they're 100% in on it, and by limiting it, that's helping them.
So I totally understand, totally agree on that from the business perspective. However, from my consumer side of my brain, I think that this is just anti-consumer, and just as well as with the other collections that you brought up that were limited, because this doesn't need to be limited, especially not in digital format. You know what I mean? If you're doing a limited physical run for your FOMO nonsense, like whatever, but leave it up on the digital storefront, you know what I mean? And that's why I almost don't believe them, even though they have made this statement at the end of that trailer. They're going to be like, oh, due to popular demand, we brought it back. But then, like, still, from a consumer point of view, that is not pro-consumer in any regard. Like, this is one of those evergreen titles, just like Mario Kart, Odyssey, and Breath of the Wild, that will continue to sell with Switch as long as Switch is still on the market. You know what I mean? It's not consumer friendly at all, and I'm very critical of it.
I agree. It's not consumer friendly at all, but it is business savvy, and that's why they're doing it. Now, can it come back? Sure. They did it with Mario All-Stars. Hey, look, this is a practice even Disney did with the Vault. This is going into the Vault. Buy it now for a limited time. Who knows when it's coming back out? Another thing I've heard, and I don't know if it's all speculation, is that after March the games will be 3D All Stars itself will be removed from the eShop, and instead the 3 games will be put up separately on the eShop.
That is all speculation. Nintendo has not said anything about that.
No,
yet.
I said it's all speculation.
Yeah.
That's just
sorry.
What
That was a criticism of whoever in the world that was not directly at you.
Oh, I was gonna say, but wait, that's what I said.
Yeah. No.
But it's one of those things where we don't know, and Nintendo could change their tune. They can see the demand and go, okay, we're going to keep going with this. We're going to keep rolling with this. But for now, they're banking on that FOMO to help them through the holiday, because I don't think they have much more. The last full direct we had was a year ago in September. This still wasn't a full direct. This was a Mario direct. So it's been a year since a Nintendo direct. There might be another partner direct, but as a first party Nintendo stuff, we don't know what else they have. A Wii U port and a collection of 3 older ports. That's it for the holiday. That is huge. I'm hoping new Pokemon Snap at least comes in there, and I know there'll be Pokemon DLC. Hell, we still don't have a second fighter announced for the fighter pass for the second fighter pass for Smash Brothers. Not even like here it is or a release date. We don't even know what the second fighter is, and it's already September. You can tell they are hit hard, very hard by this, harder than they want to admit, and they're just trying to cover their bases.
Right. And in terms of, there are third-party games being made, either multi-platform or exclusively for the Switch, like not Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes 3 and Bravely Default 2. They're both still slated for 2020. I really don't think that No More Heroes actually is going to come out this year. Like, even before, they were basically gearing you all up for the delay announcement. And that was before coronavirus, so I'm sure it's not going to come out this year. But it is still slated for 2020. And same thing with Bravely Default, and I'm really looking forward to Bravely Default 2. So hoping that's going to be, the big game for me, just speaking for me this year.
Hey, a partner direct, it could be announced.
We'll see, though. In terms of like income revenue, though, for Nintendo, they also have Mario Kart, which we'll talk about right now. Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, that's going to be a huge seller as long as they can meet demand to some degree. Don't you think? For kids?
That game is for kids, and for kids at heart, it's going to be huge. Hands down.
Like this is going to be like a total hot Christmas item for sure. You know what I mean? Like, imagine a 12-year-old playing their Switch and controlling this thing like an RC toy car racer thing. Like, in terms of like gameplay, like, and gamer-minded people like you and I, it's not so much our thing. I'm not going to get this, but like 12-year-olds everywhere are going to be clamoring for this, don't you think?
I 100% agree. I'm interested in it. I love the technology behind it. I'm interested in it. My problem is I don't have the room to set up tracks because you really need
Yes.
physical areas. Even the best area would be like my living room area, but I have carpet, so that's out of the
Yes.
way. The other thing that's stopping me from purchasing this is it's the $100 I could swallow. It's the fact that you get a download code for the game. There's no physical card for this. Had
Yeah,
there been
yeah.
a physical card, I would be buying this. But without a physical, then it's a pass. And it's so weird because every other thing they've done with physical items, Ring Fit Adventure, came with a physical game.
Yes, and I
All the
wish that that was
Nintendo
actually
Labo,
digital.
all the Nintendo Labo is physical. This is not, and I want it to be physical.
Yeah, that is weird, like in terms of what do I want to say, like consistency.
Yeah.
I understand that they would want to do it digital because that lowers their cost, for manufacturing stuff like this. I'm not personally affected because I'm not a collector or anything like that.
You're a weirdo.
So I'm not bothered, but I still just think that this is going to be, a huge thing for kids.
100%. No, this like those people saying this is not Mario Kart 9, this is not what I want. This isn't geared towards you. This is geared towards a younger audience. This is geared for families with their children that they know they can set up. One of my biggest memories growing up was Lego I don't know if they still do it, but they used to do these train sets, these Lego train sets.
Yeah.
And my dad got me the space train and we set it up and it was, the actual train, you turned it on and it was electric, it ran. And it was just so cool to build it and then just play with that and just had fun. And of course, nowadays kids will probably get bored of it really quickly, but this was the early 90s, late 80s, so it was a little bit better. But this is the equivalent. There's going to be so many parents that are going to have those same type of moments, so many kids with those same type of memories with this, and just racing each other and just having fun. And I think that is fantastic. And I am so looking forward to hearing the stories behind this and like how people are enjoying it.
Because I think that this is a really good combination of like, throughout the ages, there's those interactive toys, whether it's, back in like the 40s or 50s when they had all of those like steel or copper trains, that could run on tracks. I remember my uncle, he has some of those. And so, kids have always loved like little things like that. And then there was, like you were saying, in the late 80s, early 90s, the Lego trains, the remote control cars that you could play with. So there's that aspect of it with this Mario Kart, plus the addicted to the screen generations that we are now, especially with children just growing up with them, so they can see everything in real time and in their game, and then they're actually playing a game on there. It's really interesting technology. I think it's cool.
When the Wii came out, one of my favorite articles to read, just because I found it just kind of funny, was how many people broke their screens. Like, just there was videos all over when the Wii came out of people throwing their Wiimotes in so much that the original bands didn't work that well, and Nintendo had to issue better bands. It was sad.
The Wiimote condom.
The Wiimote condom. Yeah, that wasn't originally part of it either. It was kind of humorous just to watch these videos because some of them were just funny. How many times are you gonna have like a brother and sister racing each other and one pushing the other one out of the way, but knocking them into a table, which is going to knock down vases and knock down picture frames? And what kind of destruction are these things going to cause on people's living rooms?
Dude, I can't wait for the videos.
You see like the screen of like Mario Kart and like trying to dodge, and suddenly like a flower vase just falls in front of the car.
Ah, yeah. Hey, that's a throwback to Yoshi's Island.
Yeah.
Maybe there'll be a key inside that vase.
Or a lamp just falls over and you got to drive around it. It'll be like, it's gonna be funny.
Can't wait. And then moving on, there was a hardware announcement. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this. Game & Watch Super Mario Bros. Edition. Gonna be $50. What do you think, Barry?
I have been hitting refresh since it was announced on Best Buy, waiting to purchase this item. This is a novelty hands down.
Yes, yes.
But my specialty that I really focus on in collecting is handheld consoles, and Game and Watch is one of those where I don't have a whole bunch, but I do have some of them because of the importance. And I love that Nintendo is bringing back part of their history. A lot of people don't remember the Game & Watch, never had one, never even seen one.
Right.
And to see it come back in this cool way is awesome with the color screen and both Mario. I'm glad they included lost levels as well. I think that's a nice little touch. My only complaint about it, like having the Mario phase ball is cool, but why not also include the Game & Watch version of Super Mario Brothers and other related games like Mario Cement Factory and stuff like that? Like,
yeah.
They could have just put them in. They didn't have to put Mario's face on. Mario's already a character. Just leave him as is. Like, these are Mario-related Game & Watch games that already exist. That would be so cool to have those as options as well.
I'm wondering, in terms of programming, how that would work for them, because this isn't like an exact like Game & Watch in terms of display. So like the original Game & Watch, it was like the dots, and the dot would like kind of move. It wasn't actually a screen like NES or whatever, for people who are unaware. It was just, it was dots moving from one set palette area to another. So I wonder if they're simulating that for the Game & Watch Mario version or not. I just wonder, like, on the production end of things.
I don't think they are.
No?
But I think it's like literally an LCD screen.
Okay.
Not obviously, otherwise it would be really tough to get the original Mario and Mario 2 running there.
Yeah.
But the fact that ball is there, and the Game & Watch Gallery games and the Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance did it, so they can do it. They can absolutely do it. And again, I'm not saying like, oh, they should put Octopus on there and like all these other Game & Watch games, but Super Mario Brothers and Mario Cement Factory, maybe Donkey Kong or something, those are all related to Mario. And especially like our Donkey Kong was a 2-screener, so we want to do that. But Super Mario Brothers, a flat one screen, and that's another version of Super Mario Brothers, probably one that the majority of people have never played.
Yeah. But devil's advocate here, people are still gonna buy it regardless, so
myself included.
Yeah.
100%. This is going to be one of those NES classics. This is going to be one of those limited time. It comes out, it sells out, and then starts going for ridiculous amounts later on.
Yeah. I think it's going to be less demand than those, but it'll be comparable.
I think, and as time goes on, it's only going to raise in value.
Yeah. Then the also worst kept secret is Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, a missed opportunity to not put a extra R in parentheses there. Coming to Nintendo Switch. This is an excellent 3D Mario game. I like this so much more than Odyssey. I played it one time, just once, with all 4 people in local, and it was like one of the best times I've ever had playing a video game. It was just full of craziness, and everybody's shouting and drinking, and just wonderful times. Super Mario 3D World is so good. I'm so glad it's coming to the Switch.
This I completely agree. Worst kept secret. We knew it was happening, all these other Wii U ports, so why not? The Bowser's Fury thing has me super intrigued. I really want to see what that's about.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's substantial. It's kind of getting the Mario and Luigi remake treatment with the plus, added onto it. I think this game is very underrated and unfortunately had a terrible rep, because when it came out, people were like, this isn't the 3D Mario we were expecting. We were expecting another Galaxy or another Mario 64. This is just 3D Land on the 3DS. This is lazy. This isn't going to move Wii U units. And you know what? It didn't. And those people missed out on a fantastic game, because 3D World is a fantastic game. It is a lot of fun.
So good.
A lot of fun. I'm wondering what they're going to do with the stamps, because one of the collectibles in every level were stamps that you can use in Miiverse. Are they going to remove them, or are they going to put a different collectible there for you to get? Because I hope they don't remove them unless they put something else there, because it was just one more thing to find, and some of them were hidden in really cool areas, and that was part of the charm, is finding everything. So I hope they do something for those. I'm also curious how they're going to do the Captain Toad levels, because that really used the Wii U gamepad for those levels.
Right, yeah.
And I'm also wondering how they're going to do some of the mechanics like the blowing, because they had like the platforms you need to blow to like raise them up. They were like propeller. How are they going to do that? Are they just going to auto move up and down now or something like that? So I'm really interested to see how they convert this over. But if you haven't played this yet, if you didn't have a Wii U, this game is a lot of fun. And it has online and I think local. I'm sure it has local still, but I know it has online co-op, which is fantastic.
Is online co-op confirmed? I know on the eShop listing it does say that there are online elements, but do we know that that's specifically like co-op? Like
everything I've seen has been 4-player up to 4-player online co-op, which has me excited. But I hope it also has local co-op too, unlike Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles.
I'm sure it'll have local co-op for sure. If it does have online co-op, then I will definitely buy it again. Because like typically I haven't bought the Wii U ports. I've only bought a couple of them. But online co-op plus whatever Bowser's Fury might be, that has me intrigued enough that I would buy it again.
Yeah, Bowser's Fury alone is enough. I'm wondering if it's going to be one of those you have to beat Mario 3D World before you can access it, or if it's like on the menu you can choose. Kind of like Xenoblade Chronicles, you could play the game or you could just jump to Future Connected.
Right. I have a feeling it's going to be like Xenoblade and it'll just say this is best played after you beat 3D World, but whatever. Also, it's Mario, like whatever. The lore of Mario has been ruined by me playing the sequel later. Except for the most recent Paper Mario, because I spoiled the shit out of some people and I still feel horrible about that.
Oh, it's such a good game.
It's really good. It's really, really good. I loved it. And then we got Super Mario Bros. 35. A 35-person online battle game. This is an interesting one.
This one has me super excited, but also sad because it's going away in March.
I, once again, don't believe them because just like Tetris 99, they said it was going to go away, and they kept it, and they made a physical release for it.
Yes.
So I have a feeling that's what's going to happen here as long as it's successful.
Well, yeah, the physical release came when they added they paid content that had single-player stuff. So that's why they were able to do a physical release, because it's the single-player. This, as long as there's no single-player, it's kind of a physical release, sadly, is just a coaster card. But yes, I'm excited for this. I'm definitely excited to try it. It's free, provided you have the online service.
Yeah, it comes with the online.
So absolutely well worth playing, giving it a try. I'm excited to see how this works. I never thought of Mario Battle Royale, but I'm super intrigued to see how crazy it gets.
I'm not into battle royales at all in online competitive multiplayer. I will still give this a try. I think that this is a great, great idea, and I really hope that Nintendo continues to do things like this with their online to increase the value of their online,
100%. No, the Tetris 99 blew people away. Like, that was like, wait, what? And it worked so well, and it still works to this day. It's still going. I think shortening it down to 35 is a smarter idea. Not only for the anniversary, but you can get pretty crazy. And one of those things where down the road, if there's less people playing it, you only have to worry about 35 people instead of 100 or 99. But I do hope if this is successful, we start seeing Mario 2, Mario Lost Levels, Mario 3, Mario World like this.
Absolutely.
It'd be great.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. So apparently enemies you defeat go into other people's courses, and you can sort of choose like from groups of whom you want to target. You can target people that have the most coins, have the most or least time or something like that. There is a bit of a strategy to it, and there's also like an item roulette, so it's definitely a reworked version of the original Super Mario Bros. I'm just totally interested in checking this out.
That whole targeting thing, that's from Tetris 99.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, Tetris 99 had where you can target you could target people who are close to the top, so you can kind of eliminate them quickly, or you could target whoever's in the lead right now, so you could really start working them out. And you could switch on the fly where those enemies go. So you want to target the guy that's in the lead, but maybe that might not be a good idea, because if everyone targets that guy, everyone kills him, but then everybody else is doing great. So maybe instead you want to target the guy with the most coins, and he thinks he's safe, go after him, or go after the person lagging behind and pick off the weakest ones. Because when Tetris 99, it showed when people were targeting you. Like it showed like a little line like, oh, they're
Oh,
targeting.
right.
And sometimes like if you see like a bunch of them, you're like, oh crap, I'm gonna get my butt kicked. So I'm wondering if it's gonna see the same thing, and you have to prepare for all these extra enemies, because all you could send is to one person, but if a bunch of people have you targeted, you might not survive.
Yeah. Well, it's coming out, when is it? This month, is it?
This month, I believe, September.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to check it out. And then I guess I should have structured this better, because then these are a little bit smaller announcements. But Super Mario All-Stars on the Super Nintendo Switch app. That's excellent. This is the version that I played the most of when I was a kid. We had a NES, and that's, the versions that I first played. But then when the Super Nintendo came out and we got one, we gave our NES to our cousin. And so then I had the All-Stars version, and that's the one that I played the most of. But I love the way that they look compared to the Super Nintendo versions of like Mario Bros. 1, 2, and 3. Love the way that they look compared to the original NES versions.
Mm-hmm.
I know that might be sacrilege.
No, I agree. I like the 16-bit look. I think it looks cleaner. I'm super excited that these are all included. I'm glad they came out today, or the day of the announcement. And it gives people who've never played those games a chance to play, and for those that just want to revisit, it gives them something to play till the 18th. So it's like, here, in the meantime, enjoy these great games, and you're getting the 4 games all in one. And if you have that online service, it's free, so enjoy them.
4 excellent games.
Absolutely.
And then there was a bunch of other like Super Mario events and online things announced in apps and other junk that I'm not sure about. There's also Super Mario products. Like, oh, you're laughing over there, Barry. Come on now. It's some rub your phone games. I don't know. I don't play them.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry. I'm so dismissive.
So dismissive.
Go on. I'll give it some pizzazz. Go ahead.
Well, some of the stuff they're doing aren't exactly like great. Like Mario Maker 2 is doing like a special level, but it would be cool if they added some new stuff to Mario Maker 2. One thing I'm excited about is Animal Crossing New Horizons is getting Mario themed furniture, which was in the original Animal Crossing, so I hope they're bringing those back, where you get like the warp pipe and you click it and like the piranha plant comes up, or the sounds, the mushroom, and like all that cool stuff, the wallpaper. So that I'm excited about as an Animal Crossing player. One of the things is like a Smash Brothers event, that like an event tournament where you can only pick Mario stages and Mario items and Mario characters. So that could be pretty intriguing, but as someone who doesn't main any of the Mario characters, I'm not going to even bother wasting my time. But I like that they're doing that. And then there's the one cool thing is Club Nintendo is finally getting physical rewards again. Like, they haven't had physical rewards in the longest time.
The My Nintendo, not Club Nintendo.
Well, My Nintendo is, yeah, Club Nintendo had physical rewards, but My Nintendo's finally.
You can tell where Barry's heart lies.
I miss Club Nintendo. I miss those physical rewards. But the keychains, the Splatoon keychains, and the T-shirts and stuff like that. But one thing I really love that they do this occasionally. They did this with like Smash 4 on Wii U, where they're like, oh, if you get Smash, you can get a free soundtrack, and they give the free things. They're doing the Mario pin giveaway, where you can go right now to the website and you can do a few of the challenges, but there's 2 challenges you can't do yet, and they're very smart on doing it. One is you have to register Mario 3D All-Stars to qualify, just like Smash. You had to buy the game to get the soundtrack. You have to buy 3D All-Stars to get these pins, but you have to register. So if you buy it digitally, it's auto-registered, and if you buy physical, you have to push plus when you put the card in and redeem the coins to count it to get your pins. But the other thing they're doing is you have to participate in the Mario Kart Tour anniversary tournament. And that doesn't go live for I think in a week or so it goes live, and that maybe like the 10th. That is something that you can't do it yet. You have to wait. But I think that's brilliant, because Mario Kart Tour is a free game, so it's not costing anyone any money. But it's also getting new players, people who have never given this game a try. Hey, let me give it a try. It will probably hook some people in who, while they like it. Right. I've been playing it since launch. I didn't like it at first, and I wound up falling in love with it. So I'm really excited for that tournament. Just to see, especially like the characters they're adding, the 16-bit Mario and Donkey Kong Jr. from from the original Super Mario Kart.
That's lovely.
Especially DK Jr. because he was like completely forgotten about after that release.
Dead. He was died.
He died. So I'm happy to see them come back. And I think that's good. I think a lot of people, will enjoy that game. I see people like, I don't want to play a mobile game. Well, if you want the pins, you have to. You have to do it. There's no other way of doing it. But it's free, so it doesn't cost you anything. Give it a try. Give that tournament a try, and you might wind up liking it. So
yeah,
I'm
there's
excited
nothing
for
preventing you from getting those pins. You follow all those things, and it doesn't cost you any money. But it's nice that they sort of set up those barriers so that way there's not such a huge, gigantic demand for it. It's good because I don't know if it's good because. I mean, this is always, no matter what, it's always going to be for, like, the crazy collector people or the crazy dedicated Nintendo fans, as opposed to, like, for the kids, who I think that a lot of it should be for, I don't know. I guess that's a way of them exploiting FOMO and sort of seeding the deep-rooted Nintendo fan.
I don't think this
that
is
don't
FOMO. I think it's for the older people, not the kids, because it's Mario's 35th anniversary. The people who grew up with Mario's are in their 30s, so it's for this.
Totally true.
So it is absolutely for us, and it's one of those things where, like you said, it's gated. So, a lot of the people who enter these type of contests, they're not entering it to... they're not going to do everything 100%. Like, one of the options is listen to the music on the music player on this website.
Yeah.
How many people are going to push play to start the music and then be like, oh, I got credit, now I'm moving on? They're not going to sit there all day and like, I'm going to listen to all this music. And they know that. That's why it's good that they're letting people, do it in stages kind of deal. And get that try. And that's another thing we forgot to mention is the music player in the 3D All-Stars.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. The 3D All-Stars game comes with a music player in there. It's a little bit, I don't know, slightly... It's not super useful for me. I wish that it would just come with a download code for you to download MP3s,
or
something
physical
like that.
CDs.
I would love that. Or a physical CD for all you weirdos out there.
Damn straight. Physical CDs for life, man. You can rip that music. You get best of both worlds.
Yeah, you can at least get good quality.
Yeah. And I would have liked that. The other thing I would have liked, there's no book inside. It would be cool if there was a little art book or something inside the case.
An
that
art
would be
book
cool.
I will always buy.
That would be cool.
As long as it's not like just a bunch of promo art. I hate when it's just promo art in your art book.
Well, do you remember when the Wii version of Mario All-Stars came out? It came with a big book in Anniversary with a bunch of like design documents and art we've never seen before and behind the scenes.
That's cool. No, I didn't remember that because I was hardly playing any video games during that generation.
Oh man, yes, it came with this, and like one of the tidbits that came out of that book that a lot of people love is that Mario's supposed to have a gun, and there's like official artwork of Mario with a gun. Yeah, like these are the kind of cool behind the scenes things. I would love to see them do something like that for this. Even like a mini art book just to fit in the case. But no, nothing. It's empty inside. It's just screenshots on the inside of the case with the game.
And the last thing I want to mention is just because I'm so very much into clothing, especially my awful, desperate, weirdo nerd clothing. There's these pretty nice looking Puma tennis shoes that are Super Mario themed. Kind of given that a thought. I don't know what the price is, but giving it a thought if maybe I want to get those. There's also Splatoon crossover Mario t-shirts that I've already pre-ordered ordered from the store. It's, a Splatoon Splatfest is going to come up with which power-up do you prefer, the star or the mushroom? And then it's got, Splatoon art on them. They're kind of basic in terms of Splatoon shirts. I've got some other nicer Splatoon gear that's official, but I liked them enough that I decided to get them. That's
one of those things where I feel like this all was supposed to come out prior to. I think even the Puma shoes leaked, and then obviously the Levi's thing they had earlier in the year.
Yeah,
I think it's great. I think this is going more back to the Nintendo of the 80s, where they were everywhere, where the Mario movie didn't scorned them so that they will not let anybody touch their IP.
Dude, I was thinking about that movie earlier today. I really want to rewatch it. It's been a couple of years now.
It's so much, like, it's such a cult classic.
Yeah,
it's one of those, like,
so
a
weird.
fever dream. Did this really happen? But it's way better than we thought.
Do you remember that scene where he's dancing with Big Bertha and
Yes.
he has to get the crystal from in between her tits, and so he reaches his mouth in between her boobs?
Yup.
That was a Mario movie.
Yup. Yes, it was.
Oh gosh.
And they set that up for a sequel, like they thought they were getting one.
Oh god, with the worst princess, the actress for the princess, she was so bad. She looks at the camera in that scene at the end. She looks directly at the lens, and they kept it in.
Hey, at least they used Daisy. They gave Daisy some love. And they put her with Luigi, which they did then in the games.
Yeah, okay. But also, I can't get into this right now. We must move on. Now into our additional DLC. I have one that is connected to our email, so I'm going to save that for a bit later. Barry, what do you have to recommend to the audience?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier about phone games, obviously Mario Kart Tour, but Nintendo has an amazing mobile game that people have, some people play it, some people have not even looked at it because it is a mobile game, and it's a shame because it's their one and only original IP that's birthed from their mobile endeavors. I don't know how much more mobile stuff they're going to be doing. And that
Birthed
is
by Endeavors, by the way, is the new title for the new Kingdom Hearts game.
It wouldn't surprise me. Oh, you want to talk about long titles? There you go, Kingdom
Exactly.
Hearts titles. But yeah, Dragalia Lost, which launched with a direct even, has still been going strong, and it's approaching its 2-year anniversary later this month. They have done wonderful crossovers with like Fire Emblem, Mega Man, Monster Hunter, and we're expecting another crossover announcement during the 2-year anniversary. And this is an action RPG. It is a gacha game, but it's got fun characters. It's super, super giving, like to the point that anything that happens, they give you, like, oh, there was maintenance, we're going to give you. Oh, there's an update, we're giving you summons. You just by playing the games, you're getting summons. We're giving you 5-star characters for free. It is unbelievably generous, and I can't say that about a lot of other games. Mario Kart Tour is 100% the polar opposite. I started playing like the Tales of Crescentia game because I'm a big Tales of fan. That game is super ungenerous with a lot of their stuff. And this is just, here, we want you to play, we want you to summon, we want you to have fun. Here's a bunch of free stuff. And on top of that, it's a lot of fun. The game is fun, the game is a lot of strategy. But for people coming into it now, it is very much almost daunting. All these characters, what should I level, what should I spend time on, how should I level up? And there is one YouTuber in particular that I do recommend, and that's my additional DLC that's called Dragalia Foundry. So it's youtube.com/Dragalia Foundry. Not only does he put out videos of here's beginner guides to the game, here's units you may want to invest in, here's a weapon guide or worm print guide, or here's what you should be doing and ways to help out, but he also puts out videos of like doing even harder content on autoplay, and like here's my composition, here's what I recommend, here's how you could do it autoplay, here's the success rate and stuff for more experienced players. So he covers all grounds, does should you summon videos and news update videos, and has just been really with the game since the inception of it. And I do recommend it because I've been playing that game since launch. I love Dragalia Lost. I think it is very much underrated in Nintendo's eyes. They don't really reference it anymore. They don't really talk about it, and it's a shame because it is an IP I think that could move on into a Switch game or a Switch 2 game or whatever. The storyline is fantastic. There's a lot of intrigue, there's a lot of drama, way more than a mobile game I would think would get, but it does it, and it has that Nintendo charm. Like, these are characters that I can see playing alongside of Link and Mario and Samus and like all these other characters. Like, they fit into the Nintendo motive. So I do think it's worth giving the game a shot. It is free to play, of course, and I do recommend his channel because if you are going to give it a try, there's a lot of good guides there to help you out.
Nice. Honestly, you sold me a little bit on it because I played it just a tad in the beginning and I like the aesthetic of it a lot. I just really don't like phone games, like in terms of controls and everything. And then, the gotcha elements, even though this game is pretty giving, I don't know, just the gameplay loop doesn't ever interest me. But maybe I'll try it again just because I do like the aesthetic. I love, dragons and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
So
Well, the nice thing is I'm not a big fan of like playing mobile games and the controls either, but there is autoplay, so a lot of the stuff you can just let it automatically do it. Sometimes you can't. The higher end content is very challenging, and you really need high level players. And it is fun to tackle these big bosses with 3 other people and really work that out. But even that was too difficult for some people, so they put like a revive system in. So now if you're tackling tough content and I screwed up, I should have went right, I went left, and I died. Now my party's gonna like hate me. Well, now there's a revive, so you can get up and try. You keep going right there and then. They added like an auto retry feature if people are we had a bad run, let's retry with the same group. They even did a point where they had equipment in the game is called worm prints. There are these prints you equip, and they were in the gacha pool. And one of the things they do in their gacha is they have a pity break. So if you do 10 summons without a 5-star, you go up half a percentage to get a 5-star. Like the rates go up. So if you're having a couple bad runs, it starts going up. So you eventually will break it by getting a 5-star. And they had these worm prints in there, and the worst feeling in the world was getting a 5-star worm print versus a character or a dragon. It was like, oh no. And they heard people. They not only took out worm prints from the pool completely, they removed it.
Oh.
They made it so you can purchase it through a special currency. So you could just purchase whatever worm prints you want now, no longer a gacha. They then refunded everybody who got worm prints.
Wow.
This is something you don't expect a mobile company to do. Like,
Yeah.
This is like, what, you're refunding me? You're giving me my money back kind of deal? What? Wait a second. You're not being greedy and running all the way to the bank? And that's one of the things they're not doing because of Nintendo. Nintendo's like, no, don't do this. Give them back. Make them, And I love that. I love that feeling that they actually want to give back to the players. And something that Nintendo doesn't do, but they do in this game, is every month the developer, the director really of the game, puts out a post. Here's what we're doing this month. Here's what to expect this month.
Oh,
so
that's
every
cool.
month you're actually informed. It's not like, well, is anything new coming? What's coming up? They tell you, and they keep informed, unlike Nintendo with their lack of directs overall. And I like that. I like keeping the player base informed. So I do champion this game. I do think it's a lot of fun. I do hope Nintendo does more with this IP, and Dragalia Foundry is a great YouTuber to go and check out and get some guides to help out.
Nice. And then let's move into the email because that's where my additional DLC is tied. If you would like to send an email over, topic of discussion, question, criticism, critique, or correction, that is nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com. Barry, can you remind people? They already forgot. What's that email I just said?
Yeah, the email you just said is nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
You got it!
You thought I wasn't listening. See?
No,
See?
I knew you were listening.
See, this is what I get. I come here and then I think I'm not listening.
No.
What do you think I am,
can
Galen?
tell when Galen's not listening. Because default, that's his state.
You just think I'm Galen.
No. No. No one is Galen. I would not wish that on anybody.
Oh, poor Galen. No, that's not fair to say. He's not here to defend himself.
It's fine.
No, I got to stand up for him. He's not that bad. He's a good guy.
Just sort of bad. Unlike our lovely emailer this week, it's Chris. Yet another email from our always supportive Chris. He sent over just a wonderful little additional DLC of his own, and I'm recommending it to everybody. It's a GDC 2020 developer talk from the developer Adam Robinson Yu of the game that just came out on Switch called A Short Hike. That's that little penguin guy with the really cute pixel aesthetic. And it is just him, the developer, giving a post-mortem on the game, how he created it. It's just a wonderful short, well, it's like 30 minutes long, but it goes through a lot of different topics and it doesn't overstay its welcome. And it shows, a creator behind the game and the creation process, how it's possible to do yourself. So it's really great for if you are a freelancer or a solo creator or just, working in a small team or something like that. Very inspiring, lovely little light chat. So do check it out. It's on YouTube. It's called Crafting a Tiny Open World, a Short Hike Postmortem.
That sounds really cool. Yeah, Short Hike was one of those in the Indie Direct that really, it spoke to me, and I was very interested in it. I've had friends play it. They said they really enjoyed it. Hoping for a physical one day, maybe.
Yeah, I already picked it up on digital because it's really cheap. It was like, I don't know, like $7 or something, and there was a launch discount with it. So I'll play it at some point, but I already picked it up to show my support.
Nice.
So what's coming up? What's coming out on NintendoEverything.com? We got translations, reviews, 24/7 news, so much good stuff. You want to stay connected to us 24/7. You can do that through Twitter. That's at NinEverything. Also got our YouTube, youtube.com/NinEverything. And again, my social link is Twitter at Oni_Dino. I also run my other podcast, my Desperate Weirdo Critiques Video Games podcast. That's weekly Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And then that is on a platform called Get Vocal, Get VOKL. You can also just follow me on Twitter, and there's links there, and I'll remind you on there. I also simulcast it on Twitter if you want to just watch, but you can join in to the podcast through the text chat, or you can jump in and talk with me and interact with me there. Basically, we talk about whatever it is you want to talk about for an hour about video games. It's turning out to be a lot more fun than I even thought it was going to be, so please do stop on over there every Friday.
Awesome.
Barry, how about you? Where can people find you on the internet? What's going on?
You can find me on the internet, on the Twitter, at Hawk Hellfire, where I'm constantly posting, sharing, talking, and I always love talking video games, so hit me up there. I'm always up for chatting. You could find me on YouTube. You could find me at youtube.com/NintendoFuse, where we do our own live podcast every other Tuesday at 8:30. And our next one is actually going to be on the 15th, on September 15th. There, it's live. You could chat in the chat room. We're going to talk with people. Love to be interactive and just have fun with that. You could also find me on Anchor and all podcast channels for Nintendo Fuse, but you could also find the Switch Mania Playcast on all of those channels as well. We do usually record Fridays. A lot of times we do also do live. We usually record around 9 o'clock on Fridays. This time it's actually going to be on a Monday. We had to push it back. So that is every week we do those, which is a lot of fun. And sometimes I pop up on guest podcasts and stuff. I just love making the rounds and talking. I'm actually going to be on the We the Gamer cast this upcoming Monday when it goes live. It's already recorded. That was a fun little podcast to be on. So you can find me all over the internet. I try to be everywhere and nowhere all at the same time.
Perfect. You know where you definitely need to be everywhere is the F5 refresh page of Best Buy to get your Game & Wario.
Game & Wario?
Wait, Game & Mario. Damn it.
Game & Mario. That's even worse.
Okay, hold on.
It's Game & Watch.
I just ruined the podcast. Let's start over.
All right. Let's go back to the beginning. Game & Wario was a game, though.
Yes. That's what ruined my mind just now.
But Game & Mario was not. Oh, that's funny.
So, we'll see you next week. Maybe Barry will be here. He won't be. But maybe Galen will be here. And maybe Barry will join us again at another future time.
Write in and tell Oni that I should be here more often.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how many responses we get of that.
Yeah, please. Otherwise, I go back into the basement and I may never come out.
So we'll see you next week. And until then, for everything Nintendo,
stay tuned to Nintendo Everything.
Bye-bye.
Bye.